Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Who's Your Caddy? Slumber party style. I was just chit-chatting with Adam about how comfortable I am. I'm just going to chill and be comfortable tonight while we talk about the US Open. And this is not your typical show. We're not going to run through tier by tier by tier, but we are going to share some of our favorite insights on this week's contest. We're going to talk potentially any news stories that might be out there. We're going to discuss a little bit about last week's results and give you 3 of our very favorite picks to help you build your core. So while we're at it, I'm just going to play the music and get us going. I literally rambled through both my preamble and my post-music amble. So I'm going to stop ambling and bring in my co-host, Mr. Adam Hallas, at Mr. Hallas on Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, I'm going to let the people know that we're live. Adam, tell us what is going on with you lately.
Nothing much. Last week was interesting. I was up, I was down. I came in third in our little pride tournament that we have with Team Rise or Fall, and you came in first.
I did. Ooh, train.
Choo-choo. It was up and down. I think a lot of the guys that we talked about last week, if you had them in your core, you have been doing pretty well, because we talked about definitely Fleetwood, and he did pretty well. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to watch your opponent make a 75-foot putt to kind of sink the playoff? Can't beat that. So, other than that, if you had listened to us, you would have at least min cashed, because
Definitely.
some pretty good picks.
I agree. I definitely would have made some cash. I'm super sad that I didn't use my particular lineup. I would have probably not been here. No, I'm just kidding. I would have been on a private island. No, but seriously, the lineup was bomb, fire, whatever the kids say. And I only put it in our little rivalry chat group tournament. And it has maybe 12 people on a good day. I don't remember how many were in this last week.
6 or 7. I don't know. It usually it
like
ebbs and flows with the
tournament.
So I think this week we'll have at least 12 to 15.
But I wish that before I got on the plane and came to California, and I would have made a bunch of prop bets. I would have entered this all over the place. It was Tyrrell Hatton, 114 fantasy points. Tommy Fleetwood, 112 fantasy points. Nick Taylor, winner, 128 fantasy points. So right there is 1, 2, and 3, third place. And then Thigala, good to make the cut. He did just 70 fantasy points. Grayson Sig, total left field WTF sort of pick, made the cut, 68.5 fantasy points. And random of all random, Mike Weir. Mike Weir, strictly based on remaining $6,000 in my budget, and happened to have some pretty convincing data points, also made the cuts. And that was like the most ridiculous fantasy total I've had in 553.5 fantasy points. uh, Probably would have won like the Millie Maker. I should have checked to see.
There was no Millie Maker, but you would have won I think it was like a $250,000 contest. Is usually a top contest. But you know what? After taxes,
You know what? It's better that you didn't win thousands and thousands of dollars.
yeah,
But
you get thrown into a different tax bracket. You have to
that's
work on
true.
different paper. It's just,
That being said, if you watch this show and you listen to our advice, that's why I've gone to just giving these core picks, because I want you to make some of the decisions on your end, the same Mike Weir decision that I made on my end, where we teach you what to look for. And that's really more than half the battle. If you know what you're looking for and spend a little time in the data, you're gonna be fine.
yeah.
Really, I don't know. That's my thought. Those are my 2 cents. So I did not win thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but I could have. I won $2.70.
You know what?
First
By after
place.
taxes,
After taxes on my $2.70, but it was first place. 553 fantasy points. I don't know if I should have even looked at that because it's kind of depressing me now.
yeah, don't do it.
Well, we should probably just move on.
Move on, move forward.
Move on, move forward, live, laugh, love.
Mm-hmm.
This week, we are traveling to the Los Angeles County Country Club. I happen to be very nearby right now. I really like this course because I was looking at the overview, I was looking at a lot of photos, I was reading up on the course. And it reminds me of a course I played in Santa Cruz called Pasatiempo.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very just like, it's like you step back in time almost. Like very old Hollywood feel, very classic. I don't want to say stuffy, but it's like feels very fancy.
Kind of like Bushwood.
Bushwood?
Country
I don't
Club.
know. I don't know that
Caddyshack.
Oh gosh. I thought you were being real with me right now. And I'm like,
Well,
Bushwood? That sounds very awkward. But another thing about this course that I think is really cool and unique is the bunkers. The bunkers look almost as if they're unattended to.
well, they got the grass fingers, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the typical bunkers where you have a smooth edge around, so
Right.
you can kind of play your ball off if you're hit that edge. Here, it's kind of creeping in, and there's a term for it. Starts with the B. It's on the tip of my tongue for the type of bunkers that they are.
It starts with a B.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was chatting with somebody earlier today, and I felt like I saw that name.
Barranca.
Barrancas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Shout out to the Peach.
Mm-hmm.
Barrancas. Yeah. What I like about that's one thing I like about this course is it gives it some character. It is just fun to look at, and it's different than what we see. So those of you who are still trying to figure out what we're talking about, it's imagine like a bunker, and then when you're on the municipal course and the grass is like growing into the top of the sand trap, that's what it's like. And I think it's very cool looking, actually. So I like that. And of course, there's undulating greens. And the reason I just threw that in there is because I love to say undulating.
Yeah, it is built. I mean, the course is kind of built on the hillsides of California, right? And overlooks Los Angeles and a couple of holes. and you're looking at some long par threes, right? So I think 11 is the signature par three at 290 yards. But then you get the whole 15, and it's another par three, and it's 124 yards. So look at that sand wedge. Um, yeah, this course is going to play difficult. It's if you hit the middle of the fairway, there's a pretty good chance it's going to funnel to the left or to the right. If you hit it just right, you could get another 20 yards as it rolls. It's going to be some dry conditions. Um, so yeah, Bermuda grass.
I muted myself because there's lots of traffic. I go
Mm,
back home tomorrow morning, so next week I'll be back in my home studio.
okay. Well, that
Okay.
sounds good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this will be a fun course to watch this tournament. Also at work, someone was talking about a par 3 that was like 290 yards.
Yeah, I just talked about that.
That you just talked about.
Yeah,
But
hole
what
number
we
11.
didn't talk about was the 290 yards and how, like, what an awkward distance that is, and what club then would you use? So,
Well, yeah, there's like 3 bunkers surrounding it too.
right. So it's not like you're gonna go out there and drive the green. So a lot of these players that can hit it well over 300 yards off the tee are going to be able to use something silly, like even like a 7-iron probably for some of these really strong guys. But it almost feels like a 5-iron shot, and you would maybe just land the green. But I feel like we're going to see a lot of layups.
Yeah, it's possible you see some layups. I think some people are resigning to the fact that they're going to hit the bunkers and just play out of the bunkers.
Oh, I hadn't even considered that.
They're just going to use so they're probably going to use the bunkers to get close, depending on what they use, and then hit the shot, because there's at least out of 290, there's 2 bunkers on the front side, and while it gives you a little awkward shot on a flop, um, the waist or the left relief area to the left of the green doesn't give you much runoff. So like if you do hit it, you're going back down to the backside of the green.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they just try to hit one of the bunkers, kind of flop it up.
Yeah, I didn't even consider that. That actually didn't even come up in our conversation, and that makes total sense because I'm thinking how much I love my 5-iron personally,
Mhm.
and that I would probably attempt to land the green, even though you would have more control with like a 6 or a 7. But yeah, it's just interesting to me because that distance is so awkward. It's just really, really awkward.
Yeah, it's pretty awkward. And I mean, it wouldn't be awkward for people like me, right? I wouldn't be hitting from the tips. I'd be hitting from the normal size.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
So yeah.
That's the difference, I think, for sure.
Mhm.
Well, enough rambling about awkwardness and courses, I suppose. Are there any other key items that we should be aware of this week, Adam?
Well, we kind of alluded to it. So the approach is going to be huge. So shots gained approach, because it is a longer course at 7,500 yards. The par is only around 70, 71, I think, off the top of my head. But there is a little distance. There is some accuracy. The U.S. Open social media try to scare everyone, saying that the rough was deep by doing the whole dropping the ball thing and losing the ball. They'll cut it tomorrow, but it's still going to be fairly thick. They'll cut it tomorrow and probably just leave it. We do have some undulating greens. You have some undulating fairways, which makes it a little more difficult, right? Even if you hit the middle of the fairway, you could funnel down to the feet and down to the left or right side of the rough. So we're looking at shots gained off the tee. We're looking at strokes gained approach around the green, because it's going to be hard to stick to these greens, right?
Right.
Proximity, 175 yards, 200 yards, because like I said, the distance is going to be there. And if you're going to look for people that have accuracy, typically they don't have the distance with it. So they're going to have to be good on the approach. So that's what I'm going with. I know some people are looking at off the tee specific stats, so that's going to be driving distance, that's going to be driving accuracy, and trying to figure out which way to lean the other. I'm just going to let off the tee kind of high level it for me, because I'm looking for that balanced player.
I agree. I agree with you. I was weighing heavily approach, with some distance built in there as well. But yeah, I feel like approach is probably everything this week, or I won't say everything, the majority of my picks. And I don't get that in depth on some of the smaller nuances of approach that you just described. But I'm slightly distracted because I was pulling up DraftKings. I wanted to see a price on yeah. Okay. Let's talk about some core picks. This week, looking at course fit, previous behavior. That's not even the right word. I am so tired, everyone. I apologize. Previous play, previous results. I actually, this is probably not going to be a surprise, because according to one of my fantasy leagues, I've been playing a lot of Ricky Fowler. I blame you for that.
Science. He's top 50 player. It's hard not to play him.
It's hard not to play him. And then I was checking, as one does. And he is one of those really just well-rounded players as it pertains to strokes gained. Mm-hmm. And with this particular course and its difficulties, he remains very well balanced, with a little bit of an emphasis there in approach and around the green. And I like that. Rather than the standard pentagon, he's kind of like a house shaped, with the longest part being there around the green and approach. And what I also really like this week is he's super budget friendly, at $7,500 on DraftKings. So I really like Ricky Fowler.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to throw in another name there?
I do like Ricky Fowler. Now, I know everyone's going to skew Cantlay, which is a good pick. Shuffler, he's not going to pick him. John Rahm, of course. But I like Hoagland. I think he's going to. I know a few other people out there really like him as well. So it's no surprise to have this pick in there. His approach has been getting better and better and better with each weekend. He's looked great off the tee. I just think he's the total package and at the right price.
Of what?
Pardon?
What is his salary this week?
His salary is at $10,000.
$10,000. So that'd be at the top. So here's another thing. I know that we stay away, or not on purpose, but I'm just more interested in playing players that are not like the most obvious pick. And I feel like you're kind of the same way. And not that we're not playing them, but that we're not necessarily building our team around that. But when I look at other people I'm interested in, a second player I really like who happens to be very budget friendly as well is Justin Rose. And I like Justin Rose this week. I like that he's only $7,700 this week. That being said, the reason I'm talking a lot about salary, is I also like Scotty Scheffler this week, and he's probably the priciest. I think he might be like 11. Let me look. I just had it. And that is like what? 11.4. So if you are planning on playing a Scotty Scheffler, then you're going to need a lot of these other smarter picks to build your core so that you can lead off with the hugest chunk of your salary on a Scotty Scheffler or a John Rahm at 11-1. Those are so pricey. Once you get to like the 10K, it's a little more comfortable. So you have Hovland at 10K. You have it feels a little more comfortable, but you're not, you still have to be a little budget friendly with some of these guys.
Yeah. Totally makes sense.
Who else you got?
Well, kind of in that same vein, I have Adam Scott at 7,500. Adam Scott is a well-balanced player. His driving accuracies is, not the best, but he's been playing outstanding golf lately. In his past 4 events, he's placed on average within the top 10, except for the PGA Championship. He was in tied for 29th. Other than that, he's been playing outstanding. Off the tee's great. His approach needs a little help, but he does pretty well on majors. I mean, I think last time he missed a cut was the PGA Championship last year on a major, but other than that, it's few and far between. He's a steady Eddie. He's a steady Eddie golfer, so I like him.
Steady Eddie.
Yep, steady Eddie.
My third pick is going to be one that we share. And I don't feel bad about sharing it with you because you also had a fourth that you were going to randomly throw in there. But we both like Tyrrell Hatton this week. He's really been playing very well, and I don't expect any less this week. Tyrrell Hatton, 8.9, still very reasonable, and he happens to come with 82.2 fantasy points per game, which is something else that you might want to look at versus like a Jordan Spieth bringing you 69.2 points per game at $500 more. So that's something to consider when you're creating your build. So yeah, I like Tyrrell Hatton this week. I think he's going to continue this trend of good golf, and he's entertaining.
He is entertaining. He's very wears his emotions on the sleeve, as they say. So yeah, he's entertaining. I like him. My pick to round it out is I kind of hate this pick, but he loves U.S. Opens, and he's been playing okay golf. It's Patrick Reed, and at his price, he's been doing. It's hard not to pick him. He's never missed a cut at the U.S. Open. He's got great almost every major except for the 2021 Open Championship he missed a cut, and then 2019 PGA Championship he missed a cut. But other than that, he loves majors. He loves competition. Did well at the PGA Championship. Did well at the Masters. I think with everything going on between the two leagues, he'll come out spraying, and he's got great putting, good around the green, good approach. Not great driving distance or accuracy, so I'm really hoping that he kind of takes it in stride. But yeah, I'm going with Patrick Reed.
This is actually just such a tough show this week because there are so many other people that I would love to showcase. I'll throw out Tommy Fleetwood. I'd even want to talk about Matthew Fitzpatrick this week. Because
race is off.
Shane Lowry. I mean, it's just there's so many different stories that we could spend forever covering, but I really like where we've landed on these picks. And I'm trying to think of who my WTF. I had a name in mind earlier, but I got to looking at it and I don't like it anymore.
Who was it? Tell us who was on the tip of your tongue, and then you swallow him.
It was Mackenzie Hughes.
Oh.
And it actually made sense, kind of data wise, is very value friendly too, but that approach is really bothering me with Mackenzie Hughes. It's not great. And being that I think that's going to be super important, I'm just going to stay away from that. Yeah. I mean, I could be completely unoriginal and say my WTF is Matt Kuchar.
Well, I don't think he's going to do well here.
I don't think so either, but I was just like, I'll just throw that out there at random. I don't have a WTF this week, to be honest. There are just so many players that I think we're going to see the usual suspects rise to the top. All of our favorites, the people that we love that occasionally are WTFs, are going to be out there doing us proud. And the names that you don't necessarily recognize, I don't think there's be any surprises, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. My WTF is Denny McCarthy. And the reason I choose him is I choose him because he's got, pretty good driving accuracy, wonderful at putting. It's been great around the green, good approach. Been doing fantastic, except the Charles Schwab, he got cut. But the Memorial, second place. PGA Championship, tied for 29th. Wells Fargo, tied for 8th. Zurich, tied for 11th. RBC, tied for 25th. I mean, it's kind of criminal that he hasn't moved up in the price. But, yeah, I don't know. He does pretty well in the majors.
I like that one. I do. And now you have me looking again. Again, this is a pretty good one too. All right. I will go with Tom Hoagie then as my WTF this week. Very well-rounded player. He's got a little sprinkle there of approach, which is what we're looking for. And super value friendly. It feels like I have a very inexpensive roster this week.
Yeah, this is type of weekend where you might go with a studs and duds route, type of rostering.
Yeah, so. And in case you don't know what that means, go ahead and pick like primo and then not so primo, and it's going to balance out in the end because you're still going to do well.
You're going to have your steak and lobster at the top, and then your ramen noodles at the bottom.
Exactly. Everybody loves lobster and ramen noodles from the styrofoam container, not to be confused with a fancy ramen place.
Yeah.
7,200 for Tom Hoagie, averaging 67.1 fantasy points, which doesn't sound like a lot, but for a player at that price point, it's pretty great because you're going to look around and be like, oh, snap. 14 of 20 cuts. Sounds good to me. 4 top 10s. He's just very well-rounded, but it's not somebody that you may typically call out week to week. So I'm going to go ahead and make him my WTF this week because somebody out there is probably like, WTF. I guess.
Yep. I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was either. It was a very fancy gang sign.
Yeah, WTF.
You guys, thank you so much for joining us this week for the special edition, what I'm calling the slumber party edition, hanging out in my sleep shirt with my pillows in my noisy apartment. Adam, thank you again for being my amazing co-host. Thank you to Women of Fantasy Football for supporting this crazy idea of golf on a football channel, and Club Fantasy for allowing us to host it right here on the Club Fantasy YouTube channel. And across everywhere else, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, whatever your video platform. It looks like we're there. So I hope to see you next week. Do you have any closing remarks, Adam?
No, we shouldn't have any weird news like we had last week, where we had 8 people,
I know.
and we called it. We had 8 people Wednesday drop out.
Out. That's
So,
right. Yeah, it really affected a bunch of fantasy golf leagues where they had to go in and like adjust and make points adjustments and blah, blah, blah. Man, right on it, Adam. Again, follow us on Twitter. I'm Kelly in Phoenix. Adam, Mr. Hallas. Ask us any and all questions. I love getting your lineups and having you ask questions. That's what we live for, I guess. See you next week. Be good. Have fun. Fairways and greens. I don't know what this closing is turning into, but it is getting long now. Bye. I'm going to end this apparently someday.